Is it like that?
Yes.
T.S. Eliot. So you know Dr. Singh and Dr. Samavi, they are the visiting faculty of this university. And I also take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Abdul Saleh, the Dean of the Higher Institute for Sports and Physical Education, and also other guests today. And with this welcome, we would like to begin this discussion of this thesis today. Now, first of all, Mr. Yahya will tell us, what he has tried to do in this dissertation. Mr. Yahya.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين. Associate Professor Dr. Abdul Jabbar Abdul the Dean of the Higher Institute for Sports and Physical Education, Professor Sweeney Agonistes, my teacher and supervisor for this dissertation, Dr. Ahmed Al-Samawi, my respected examiner, and Dr. Singh, respected examiner, friends, relatives, and respected guests. At the beginning, I'd like to welcome you attending my discussion of this research. And at the beginning, at the outset, I would like to show you and to give you a short summary about, as you say, the title, about one of the greatest novelists and greatest dramatists and poets. He is T.S. Eliot, as you say. T.S. Eliot was born in 1888 in an industrial city in the center of the USA, and he became, after that, citizen of England. He is nominated as one of the most great poets and dramatists in the 20th century. He wrote a lot of poems and also verse plays or poetic drama. He was awarded the Nobel Prize of Literature or for Literature in 1948, and he died in England in 1965. This dissertation is an attempt to trace the development and the characteristics of poetic drama in the 20th century, and also to study the contribution of T.S. Eliot or Thomas Stern Eliot in its revival, in the revival of poetic drama in the 20th century, with special reference to two of his best plays. The first one is Murder in the Cathedral, and the second one is The Family Reunion. Through his poetic plays, T.S. Eliot has proved that poetic drama is possible in the 20th century. Analytical and comparative methods are adopted in this research. The dissertation consists of 6 chapters. It is divided into an introduction, 4 chapters, and a conclusion. The introduction shows a short glance about the age of T.S. Eliot, and also an attempt is made to give a brief history of English poetic drama. The first chapter is about the characteristics and development of poetic drama in the 20th century, discussing the failure of poetic plays in the 19th century and before. The second chapter deals with Eliot's first two experimental plays. The first one is Sweeney Agonistes, which was written in 1926-27. And the second experimental play for T.S. Eliot is The Rock, which was written in 1934. Chapter 3 deals with Eliot's first successful play, Murder in the Cathedral. This play was written in 1935. It is about the martyrdom of Thomas Becket, the Archbishop of Canterbury, who was murdered by 4 knights sent by King Henry II of England. And chapter 4 is about the family reunion. This play was written in 1939. It has a contemporary theme. Both of these two plays are important landmarks in the development of poetic drama in the 20th century. The last chapter is the conclusion. It consists of a short summary about the study and also a brief comparison between these two plays, Murder in the Cathedral and the Family Reunion, as important development of poetic drama in the 20th century. Thank you.
I request Dr. Singh and Dr. Samavi to ask some questions to Mr. Yahya.
Well, my first question about your dissertation is the title itself, Poetic Drama of T.S. Eliot. This title occurs in your abstract also. In the abstract, the sentence runs, the present study is an attempt to trace the development of poetic drama and to study the contribution of T.S. Eliot in its revival in the 20th century. I think the subject you have focused on is the poetic drama. I mean the two plays, Murder in the Cathedral and The Family Reunion by T.S. Eliot. So your subject is that, poetic drama. But when you mention the development of poetic drama and the contribution of T.S. Eliot, to me it seems that you are having two topics or two ideas that you are going to put together in this central work. How do you justify that to me? Because your theme, I think, is contribution of T.S. Eliot to the poetic drama with a special reference to the two plays. But here, you talk about the development of poetic drama, which I think is one topic, and the contribution of T.S. Eliot is another. So how do you justify, how do you put the two together?
Yes, Steve, you say the title is, in general, as you say, the poetic drama of T.S. Eliot. But in fact, to study the poetic drama of T.S. Eliot in general is a large field. It's quite difficult to study it in such dissertation. And I focused my points, my idea, on two plays of him as reference to help me and guide me to show poetic drama. In fact, I started to study this topic and to give, before that, a short summary about poetic drama and its beginning, and to know its age also. Knowing the age of T.S. Eliot is important to know how poetic drama came to existence and its values.
So you think that the two constitute just one thing, that is the poetic plays of T.S. Eliot.
Yes, with reference to special two plays.
That's
I modified them with two plays from two previous plays as experimental plays, but these two previous experimental plays were not completed successful plays for poetic drama. There are some hints to help and to guide T.S. Eliot in improving poetic drama. In fact, these two plays, I wrote something about them in the topic to be as helper to T.S. Eliot in the way of poetic drama. The previous two plays before Murder in the Cathedral and the Family Reunion, for my opinion, were important landmarks to pave the road for T.S. Eliot in his work. To pave the way for him.
Yeah, I understand. I will take another important thing, which you present in your introduction. Now, introduction does introduction say anything in particular about the poetic drama? I think as far as the introduction to this subject is concerned, you ought to have focused on what you are going to do on poetic drama with a special reference to T.S. Eliot, and you ought to have talked about the chapterization too. That chapter number 1 deals with this, chapter 2, chapter 3, in this sequence. But I think you don't talk much about T.S. Eliot here in the introduction. This introduction reads more or less like a background that could have formed, to my mind, that could have formed a chapter by itself in terms of the literary background to the poetic plays of T.S. Eliot.
Yes, sir. As you say, from the abstract, I explained my point of view in the abstract. And I said that I need the introduction as a short glance about the age of T.S. Eliot. I try to explain the age of T.S. Eliot as an important point to understand the circumstances of Eliot himself and around him, in literature and in society in general. I focused in the introduction to bring hints or remarks about the atmosphere in the 20th century, at the beginning of the 20th century, the society, and also some hints to the end of the 19th century. How was poetic drama? How was drama in general as they? And I I mentioned some hints about poetic drama in the introduction, but as just remarks at the end of the introduction, you can say, to clarify my point of view. I said that poetic drama is an important factor in the 20th century. It struggled a lot. And I wrote quite hint remarks about it at the introduction, but at the end, not at the beginning. I intended in the beginning to make the introduction about the age of T.S. Eliot, the circumstances, the society, and some hints of it.
Well, that's true. Another question is, do you think that abstract is part of the dissertation itself? Just like you have your chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or is abstract something independent, you know? It
Yes.
has another use, or if you think it's part of this?
The abstract, for my idea, I made it separate as one unit to explain what I am doing in this research. So you can see the abstract, the numbers of the page are different than the numbers of the page for the text itself. The text starts from the introduction, and the introduction page number 1. And before that, the numbers of the page were in Romanic numbers. So my doing clarifies that the abstract is I mean to make the abstract different or separate from the text.
Yes. Okay. I think the two discussions that we have presented, one on murder and the Cathedral, and the other on the family union. I mean, the two discussions are really very illuminating and to the point, and you have discussed the problems T.S. Eliot faced as an author of poetic drama. That's okay. But I will ask you one more question about your one or two questions. One question is about your conclusion. I think a conclusion is a conclusion that should run into a page or two or three. But this conclusion seems to be, a long conclusion. How do you justify this?
Well, sir, in fact, I know that the conclusion should be a summary of what they have done. Should be a short. I tried in this conclusion to make a short summary about the study, and I prefer to add a comparative study between the two plays in different aspects to justify my work. You know, chapter 3 and chapter 4 are the important text, the important chapters in the text. I intended to make the last chapter as finding of the research itself. And in fact, the conclusion was more than 20 or 21 pages. And by the help of my supervisor, he told me that to reduce it, it is quite large, and I reduced it to this amount. I think maybe they are 12 or 10 or 15 pages, I'm not sure, but I think that they are important.
Is it prolific
Looks like
Yeah, because as you say, the short summary of the study, and I made a comparison study between the two plays in different aspects, as I said, as a finding of the study, to show the finding of the study.
Well, do you think that summary and conclusion would be identical, would be the same thing, or is there any difference between the two? I think summary, we all know the thing in a short form, but conclusion is the point emerging from the summary itself. So summary, conclusion should be distinguished from the summary for a clearer focus and actually where it leads, this you can say. That's okay. This shows that you have really worked very much, and as your supervisor says, you are so prolific. That's okay. And I think another important point that I find, and that really goes to your credit, is that you have used the documentary conventions of MLA. You have used the documentary conventions of modern languages of America, that those conventions, bibliographical format that you have adopted is MLAs. So that's okay, and I think in my whole, my impression is that your work is a solid work you have done, and you deserve to be considered. That's my opinion. Over to Dr. Saman.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله. As a matter of fact, I was impressed by the work that Yahya has done, and actually I was very pleased as I went through the dissertation page by page, line by line, until I came to the end. And first of all, I would like to congratulate Yahya for this masterpiece of work, and congratulate also Dr. Ibrahim for supervising Yahya to produce such a good final job. And as a matter of fact, it's a kind of credit that we should give to Yahya for such work. I was amazed by his style, especially that it was following logically from one step to another. And he was, as a matter of fact, discussing every point in details, to the point that if I want to ask a question, or if a question would raise in my mind, I would find an answer to it in the next page. However, we are human beings, and we know that it is a human work. And of course, perfection is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'm going to just clarify some of the things that I think you need, or you ought to make some correction in your dissertation for the sake of making you get close to perfect, because as I said, that perfection is only for God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sure. And most of the notes are related to the style. However, I will start with things that are related to the content and to the topic itself. To clarify a point that was raised by my colleague Dr. Singh about the abstract, that is not part of the dissertation, as a matter of fact, is just to tell the people a brief summary of what the work was about, and also for some of the professional journals that try to publish some of the research, that we usually send this type of abstract ahead of time in order to show them what type of work we have done, and so they accept it or reject it, or they tell us to send the hard document or not. So it serves so many purposes, but it's not part of the dissertation, actually. Now, again, as a comment on what Dr. Singh has said about conclusion, conclusion, as a matter of fact, can be of three types. A summary, but if it's a summary, it has to be in different styles, so that we don't try to cumbersome the reader with something or to repeat ourselves in that summary again and again, so the reader may feel bored about it. And second thing, as you said, is the findings that you report, what the main findings of the research or paper was. And third one is in the form of recommendations. Also, this is that you want either for further research or you to put, for example, in the analytical research, some recommendations for the implication of the research itself. And this is just, we have to
If you allow me, say, I have a comment about the conclusion. I may present my opinion, view opinion through my reading different books, periodicals. It is sure in an ordinary book to read the conclusion and the summary. I read in many times that the summary of each unit should be at the end of the same chapter, for example. Each chapter should be summarized with a small hint about it at the end.
We still have different styles as a matter
Yes,
of fact,
but
and
for me,
it depends on the style that you are following, that you are believing in.
You are right. You are right. And for me, I thought that because it is a dissertation, and the dissertation should be using the finding in one place, I thought it will be better to be added or introduced in the conclusion.
It's done like that.
Yes, this is what I
But he was
mean.
telling that it was a little long.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is my point of view. The conclusion, you are right in using the summary in shorter, and the conclusion should be quite different.
Yes. Also, I want to clarify that this is your style, okay? And this is one of the styles that have been commonly known in literature and also in dissertation writing. But I'm saying that sometimes we provide the summary at the end of each chapter, and sometimes we leave the summary until the end as a kind of conclusion. So whatever you do, both are correct. So it's not a question; it's just a kind of clarification for the discussion that was run between you and Dr. Singh. Yes, and first thing is back to the title itself. It's Poetic Drama of T.S. Eliot. A study of murder in the Cathedral and the family reunion. So two main points, Dr. Singh pointed out that the poetic drama, and the other thing is the T.S. Eliot as a representative of that type of literature, right? And I was wondering, after reading the whole dissertation, that I didn't find anything about the biography of T.S. Eliot, although he is maybe the main character or the main representative of the poetic drama in English during the 20th century. So can you justify that?
Yes, sir. In fact, having a bibliography about the author himself is important. And through my the outline, or through preparation of the outline, I make 5 chapters to guide me doing this research. First, I start my first thinking to write this dissertation as to start with one chapter after the introduction to be about the age of T.S. Eliot, the second chapter to be about poetic drama before T.S. Eliot. And chapter 2 about his theories and developments of poetic drama. Third chapter will be about the experimental plays. The fourth and fifth will be about the two plays individually. The last one will be the conclusion. But also, I advised by my respected supervisor that this work will be quite long, and he advised me to omit the chapter of T.S. Eliot before the poetic drama before T.S. Eliot, because there is no need for it here in this dissertation, because it is an MA dissertation, and it can be suitable for the PhD, inshallah. And also, I through my focus about the age of T.S. Eliot, I said, okay, through the age, I replaced it by the writing about T.S. Eliot himself. I prefer to replace the age of T.S. Eliot instead of about himself, his life and his circumstances. Also, in some dissertations I found, and in some books I found, it is written about his bibliography a lot, and I prefer to change my style, not to just imitate and to copy as the same as them.
You must say it's like this in his work only.
Yes, I focused about his work.
Well, when I
And from the title, I try to focus on poetic drama and what are the relationships between these factors with his job. And as you can see here, poetic drama is a vast topic, and many various dramatists wrote about it, but I try to shorten the aspect regarding T.S. Eliot.
Yeah, you see, since you've taken him as a kind of representative for this era from 20th century as a famous dramatist and famous poetic dramatist, then I think it's a kind of must that you have to provide something about his biography. Even if, with my respect to his idea, but I think you could put that as a kind of small section, about 1 page, and it would not take a whole chapter. He was born in such and such, and you know, he started his education at such and such. He wrote so many plays. He died in such and such.
You are right.
Yes.
I think he will reconsider it a little later.
Yes.
To incorporate this into it.
That's right.
When you are planning to make it a book.
Book.
Yes.
Yes, Doctor, if you allow me.
Because that's a very relevant point.
Yes.
That's very important.
Biographical support.
You see now, let's suppose that some of the readers here, some of the attendants here, they were to read this dissertation and they have no idea who T.S. Eliot is. So they have to have a kind of background about him. For me, for example, you know, I didn't know that he was an American. You see, although I'm a specialist in linguistics, you see, I didn't know that he was from America. And later on he became a British.
Yes.
So I didn't know that he was born in Britain, and yes.
Yes,
As
your opinion is absolutely right. But there is a secret in my mind. I may now say it to you.
That you are intending to.
Yes, my desire.
It's not a secret anymore. You have to
Inshallah,
do it.
yes. My desire, inshallah, to finish my PhD in the same topic. I prepared in my mind. I have an idea to say yes, to make the PhD through. And the outline about that is as follows. I try to say that in the introduction it will be about T.S. Eliot.
So you're saving the money.
His life, his
This
birth,
was
and
only meant for the elite.
So you're saving the money for the black.
I hope so. And I said, inshallah, the second chapter, which I already made and omitted from this poetic drama before T.S. Eliot, will be the, chapter 1, and the rest 3 plays of him, 3 most important plays for T.S. Eliot, which they are the cocktail party, the confidential clerk, and the statesmen. These are important plays about T.S. Eliot. They are better than these 2 plays in poetic drama. I intended, inshallah, to make them to complete the topic in the PhD. This is my idea, which I need.
Well, about his work from the beginning to the end, you see, and this what, in fact, encouraged me to ask such a question, because I thought since you are providing a kind of background about his work from the beginning to the end, why not about his life? It's a matter of about 1 page, so right. Right. The second general question is, although Dr. Abraham may have suggested that the work will be too long, but I think more examples are needed. Here and there, at least to bring the reader into a real contact with the context with the play themselves. You see? So here, as you go through the, for example, Murder in the Cathedral, you can find that you have brought some of the examples taken from the text here and there, but I think also more examples are needed. So try to insert them here and there so that they can
note down the
more
points.
yes.
Is it just a suggestion?
I know. I support it, inshallah. But regarding the explaining of the play itself, also I was advised by my respected supervisor to focus more on the poetic aspect.
Yes, this is related to the poetic aspect.
And inshallah,
Because you are talking sometimes about the genre, sometimes about the plot, sometimes about
you are right.
you see, sometimes about the rhythm, sometimes about the meter, etc. So they need a kind of clarification to examples. Yes. Now, I noticed in your style that you were producing a lot of short paragraphs that consist of 1 or 2 sentences, the most, right? So it's not that many, but I've noticed that there are considerable number of short paragraphs that are only 1 sentence or 2, and you know that in the dissertation style it has to be at least 3 sentences. So try to join them by some yes. Relation to the in relation to punctuation also in general, also in writing in English, and this is whether it's MLA or APA or any style that you are following, like usually the punctuation marks such as comma, colons, they are not preceded by space. Never. So always, come directly after the last letter, and then they are followed by a space such as full stop or comma. So try to correct this.
The computer is
I think this is something.
This is something related to
typography.
That's right. That's right. No, I've noticed that a lot.
The researcher himself does it, he can avoid it.
I will try to arrange it, inshallah.
That's fine. Yes. Now, aside from that, we may go to some of the things that are related to your style and grammar, spelling, other things where you can find some of the either printed mistakes or maybe they are stylistic mistakes that you have to think about. But let me go through the most serious ones among them. They are not serious, but among them. So let's go to page 9, please. Now here, you are producing your dissertation in February 2000, right? And you were talking about TSAs, about it as a playwright. He is really a leader. Pioneer and following page 9.
I beg your pardon. Which page?
Page 9.
9.
9, that's the first paragraph. Third line, first paragraph. Yes. Revival of poetic drama in this century. So which century are you talking about? This century or the last century?
I think
Yes.
Yes.
I have.
the aim of the 20th
About this.
You wrote it in the 20th century.
Doctor, yes, I intended to finish my work before the end of the last year.
Right.
Millennium.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
but actually this
Some
is not,
obstacles.
actually this is not the question, because this is just a kind of casual one.
And the first, if you say the
As
first,
I was looking at this century, but the question is, you said here, Stephen Phillips, from 1864 to 1915, is one of the important figures in the history of poetic drama. He wrote a number of blank verse plays, including Ulysses, the Son of David, and Negro. But he had little popular appeal. I would like to know your opinion why he had that little popular.
Stephen Phillips is important as a person who started to write poetic plays, and as you said about he had a little popular appeal. He was not famous enough in the field of poetic drama because he followed the writing the blank verse. Blank verse, as you know, we related to the Elizabethan age or the Shakespearean age, the Renaissance age. And in the 12th century, the most important for poetic plays or verse plays to be different than the blank verse. To write a verse near to the 20th century style. To make a verse near to the ordinary language. To be clear to the audience, not to make the audience be with jar and difficulties to understand situations in the 20th century. Most of his writings are related to the blank verse, and the blank verse was related to the Elizabethan age. This is my idea, that he couldn't get suitable and proper being famous in the field of
They
poetry.
were closed plays. They were only for reading.
Yes.
They were not stageable.
Yeah.
The 20th century poetic drama.
Exactly.
They are stageable. You see.
You are. Yeah.
So when once drama is staged, then only it gets the popularity.
That's and the closed place where character.
Trying to put maybe the medieval
Medieval theme, yes.
yes, theme in a Christian practice, but in the 20th century style of, yes, for the 20th century audience, yes.
Well,
And maybe you could mention here also something about Stephen, that, why he is not as popular as Eliot because of such and such.
Well, he has already referred to this. Here he mentions.
Yeah, but he didn't mention about Stephen Phillips.
He talks,
mentioned about
yes,
Eliot.
no, he talks about the fusion of the two, the medieval morality play theme and the conventions of the Greek drama. So he becomes so popular, important, and scholarly because of this, that he has blended the two together.
Yes.
So that's the point. But
Yeah,
he
that's the
didn't
point.
explain it because at many places,
Thank you.
explanation wouldn't be so very easy.
He did it for Eliot, but he didn't do it for Stephen Phillips. That's why. So it's a kind of just a
Yes, because he's focusing on T.S. Eliot, so he was on the margin, so he didn't.
Yes, page 24 also. The last paragraph. It says the verse form must be elastic and also should be able to express a vast range of emotions and feelings. The characters and themes should be contemporary. And I find that, Eliot was very successful in writing about a theme from the medieval, right? And here you are using the word should as a kind of stipulation for an aquatic drama to be successful in this century, right?
So the doctor wants you to be both precise and concise.
He can.
Yes.
Should.
For him, when I wrote this paragraph of mine, after reading his paragraph about poetry and drama, which came in 1950. This age, this year is almost after something, maybe 15 years from his first play, Murder in the Cathedral, which has the contemporary, the medieval theme. And he, at the beginning of his writing, he used the religious theme to help him making verse drama. But after that, he supported the idea of making a theme of contemporary life, near to the audience. It's better than themes in the.
No, there is no quarrel about that. The quarrel is about this particular sentence.
That the word should.
That's all.
To be able to express.
Yeah,
past
that's
tense.
check the
The
side.
characters and themes should
It's
be
very strong
on-
word,
Yeah.
Yes.
as a kind of a.
You are making it obligatory to use the
Right. Also, I mean, again, in the family reunion, he was using something from
Just
conception.
Christian concept.
No, it's a Greek concept.
Yeah, that is a mythological technique. I mean, this is,
Yeah, but the
The
style,
famous contemporary.
the style you say is contemporary. The style, the setting, the
Theme is
characters
also-
are, and the theme also is
Yeah.
contemporary. This is
Not,
the
not,
difference.
not the theme. It is
That's
the style.
yeah, the style.
That's
This
right.
one.
And maybe the linguistic style itself. That's right. On page 25, I wonder about the word experimental, if it's the correct word, especially that it is in a title, in a main title, a chapter title, the experimental plays of T.S. Eliot.
Yes, that's true.
Experimental
This expression
seems
is
to be
used.
as a research.
very much used in
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, the plays written before the mature ones
Right.
would be treated as experimental.
Experimental.
Yes,
Do you
because
call
it's,
that
I mean,
experimental?
taking steps in writing these kinds of plays.
Yeah. My opinion about this, if you allow me to clarify, is these two plays, they are abortive or not complete in the way of poetic drama. They are just helper. They help him in the way of poetic drama. He, through these two plays, increased his knowledge, ability, writing verse drama. And they were as experiment for him. This is what I mean here by experimental plays. As a helper plays to arrange him and to provide him with many elements, many ideas, knowledge, and going in the way of poetic drama.
You see, I'm influenced by my specialization in research techniques, right? And research methodology, that we use this term, experiment, to mean something that's very experimental, that's taken from the field. But here, it could be a kind of pilot, kind of trade, kind of experience, right?
Exactly.
So it's a previous experience that he was built on to produce, yes,
Steps to
the modern one.
In
Or
fact,
it
is that
could be
trial one?
initiative, something like this, but I didn't know that you are using also experimental in
literature.
within literature.
Yes.
But now you know.
Right, again on the same page here, and of the first paragraph, in the modern age, entertainment through poetic plays is a problem faced by dramatists. Why is that? Why is it a problem?
Yes, because entertainment here, according to T.S. Eliot, to make entertainment within verse plays, not with any kind of drama. You know, drama has many branches.
Yes.
And according to T.S. Eliot, writing verse plays is difficult to make it quite amazing for the people. This is what I mean to clarify. That especially for verse drama, to write entertainment with verse. It was quite difficult unless you have a large ability of words, of style. You can get the idea you need.
Right, now this is the unless I was looking for. Talent.
So you are looking for your own answer, not for his answer.
No, you wanted to corner it.
74, page 74. That, also, it's on page 75. Page 75, yes. And yes, the second paragraph starts from the story of the play. It is understood that Harry's father was very unhappy in his marriage. Right? Maybe some spelling mistakes here and there. So try to have check that out and
Yes.
trace that. I'll provide you with the rest of says, so he turned towards her younger sister Agatha to satisfy his feeling by committing adultery, and he was planning to murder his wife, but he did not do so because he was a clever and she was a clever and domineering wife. And Harry has grown up in an atmosphere, etc. I found that it was not a kind of inheriting, the feelings of his father, but it was a kind of T.S. Eliot believing in incarnation of the feelings. What do you think of that?
Where is it, see?
Yes. Well, here and also on other pages, somewhere else, that you mentioned that he was inheriting the feelings of his father, the feeling of the sin of his father. And of course, you don't actually inherit,
Well,
because he didn't see his father first, right, to inspire him with the sin. And second, I find that the only justification for that is that T.S. Eliot would go with the incarnation.
well,
The sense of the fathers continue,
They
for the
may
next
how,
generation.
no,
but it is not incarnation.
It's not a
It's not a question of
it is
incarnation.
here. It is regarding the theme of the play, the family reunion, and the theme, as you know, it is about the sin and expiation. Harry, here he discovered the story of his father. It is not mentioned directly in the play that his father was what, but his aunt Agatha, yes, told him after he asked her many times to know about his father. So he has no idea about that. And he was, before that, he was in a trance. He's in a bad mind, feeling with a sin. He is thinking of committing a sin that he thought, and he told his relatives that he pushed his wife to the sea. And in fact, there is no great or clear hint about his pushing her in the sea, but maybe it is a kind of illumination or thinking about this situation. And after his aunt told him the story of his father,
He got relief.
that's it.
Right, which
Yeah.
means that he was carrying the sin before he knew about it.
Yes, this is
And his father was having the same sin that. Right, so which means that he was a kind of reincarnation, or the feeling was reincarnated in his. This is what Eliot was believing. You see,
and maybe this is what
So in the sense of generativity,
what is
you see, because
sense of the
Agatha
fathers.
told him
Just
right
one-
about the sin about his father
Yeah.
after he had felt the
because
sin.
in Ibsen's
And after he was feeling, guilty of pushing his wife to the sea or to the ocean.
And the parallel story, the opposites.
Yes.
Yeah, also, Harry, in this case, is a symbol to carry and to expiate the universal sin. It is not just his father's sin. It is the universal sin which is shared by all people. The sin which committed by our father Adam when he was allured by. Yeah. When he was allured by
Yes, okay.
Mother Eve, when they tasted the prohibited taste, and he has to expiate about this sin for the purpose to redeem the other people.
Right. Well, as a matter of fact, that takes me to talk to the audience a little bit about the similarities between Christianity and between Islam. That, well, a lot of people may believe that Christianity has been corrupted completely, but as a matter of fact, there are still verses that looks like exactly, the verses that were mentioned in the Holy Quran, and we can find that the story of Adam and Eve, there are a lot of things that are similar to the same story in the Holy Quran, except with the, the conclusion of the story or the result of the story. This is one thing, and the other thing is, I want to ask Yahya, right? Have you ever thought about Arabic poetic drama and to run a kind of comparison between what we have in Arabic and the English poetic drama, especially that I noticed that the revival of the poetic drama in the West, in England, England and America, was at the same time, or going at the same time with the revival or with the start, you see, of the poetic drama in the East, especially in Egypt, as it was started by Ahmed Shawqi, and later on Aziz Ababa.
I may support your idea in this case that T.S. Eliot was great influence by something we know it in Arabic, which is the Rubaiyat al-Khayyam, Omar al-Khayyam. He has read it, T.S. Eliot, and he was attracted by its style and also by the verse. You are right in this. Some of the English verse dramatists, and in fact I can't remember them, they wrote about the Arab stories such as Harun al-Rashid and Hasan. I don't remember the story exactly, but they are related to the Arab situation and they wrote it in verse. There is quite similarities between the two ideas.
It's not as a kind of plays.
Well, I think Dr.
Ahmed Shawqi. Well, before him was Abu Khalil.
In fact, 10 years,
bringing theater from Syria, from Egypt, and started to act.
For me, I think it would be a really good contribution if somebody does such kind of work, the comparison. I mean,
Doctor,
drama in English and Arabic would be a good
there are
contribution.
some
They took fourth part of comparative studies under comparative literature. So the Arabic on the one hand and the English on the other.
It's very a kind of question, whether they have done any experience of thinking
but
or
in fact,
comparing Arabic literature.
regarding this, in fact, I have no great idea about it because maybe a lot of time I didn't focus my reading in the Arabic literature. I almost focus on the English literature to increase my ability also. This is
now this would be a chance for you, since he has mentioned about it. It occurs to me that it would be a really good and original
I accept it,
contribution.
inshallah. Inshallah, it will be a great.
And it will be a real contribution
You see,
for
this is
both the Arabic and the English speaking people.
That's fine.
Maybe in the next.
Yeah, since you yourself have said that T.S. Eliot benefited from Rubaiyat al-Khayyam,
Yes.
right? It means that we had the influence on such literature.
Yes.
Right. If you look at Edgar Allan Poe, right, you can find as a kind of short story novelist or short story writer that he was also affected by the Quranic style, and he wrote Al-Araf, he wrote so many verses that so many short stories that were taken from the Holy Quran.
Absolutely.
Even one day I ran into some literature of the people who were before the Americans
You mean American Indians?
no, not American Indians. Well, yeah, American Indians also.
Yes, because
American Indians
Those
also.
were
They
the
had some
original
stories.
inhabitants of America.
They had some stories, I mean, to my astonishment and your astonishment, some stories that were very, very similar to the stories that were mentioned in the Holy Quran. For example, they had one of the stories called The Flood. And it was talking exactly about the flood that happened during the time of Prophet Noah alayhi salam. See?
No.
So, yes, and those are all Indians, and they were written about 600 or 700 years ago, or 800 years ago, before even the discovery of America. So, which means that, alhamdulillah, we still have
Yes. A good feeling.
Right, in general, yes, in general, these questions do not by any means degrade your work or try to find fault about your work, because as I said in the beginning, that your work is a very, very excellent work, and I'm really very proud of that. I'm very proud to be in your discussion committee.
Thank you.
And I congratulate you again and Dr. Abraham for this type of work. Yes, and maybe if Dr. Abraham has got any final comment?
Well, I would
But
like to,
he has worked hard.
Dr. Abraham,
Yes.
I would like to make some suggestions for him. They are just for this. The suggestion number one is, I mean, proofreading. I mean, a greater proofreading would be needed in order to avoid some errors, some phrases that are not felicitous for this. The second thing is, the second reference is to the use of sources. You know, all through the dissertation, you seem to have banked on case, misra, and methodology, these two. I think even if I take that your work closes with the year 1999, there are lots of things, I mean lots of books on T.S. Eliot having bearing on these things. So in the bibliography also, the bibliography should be updated. I know that you do have some constraints here in the libraries, you don't have those things that you could update it, but there is a chance that you can think about. So more than two sources. Another thing is that in writing a dissertation, whether things are okay, some subheads in a chapter would be very much appreciated. That helps the examiners more. When you give a subhead, I mean, we have to avoid a little bit of a strain while going through these things. So with this, I thank you very much for your work, and I congratulate you for the excellent work that you have done, and I hope and believe that with Dr. Samawi's suggestion in comparative literature field, you will be able to come up with a comparative study of English poetic dramas and Arabian poetry. Thanks a lot.
We appreciate that. Yes, if either, either or either, then we have all this.
Just consider. Shall I have a word? Yes. Okay. Now, I especially thank Dr. Singh and Dr. Samavi for being examiners of Mr. Yahya's dissertation. And I'm very happy about Yahya's work. In fact, I should say that he's worked very hard all throughout. There were moments when I sometimes used to get very tough with him, you see, but he bore it, and I believe that he got the result for that. And I'm also very happy to say that he is probably the first M.A. student in this university who has completed his MA in English from this university.
Oh, no.
But I would like to say that it was one of the best discussions we have had in this university, and I congratulate Yahya for that. And I also thank all the dignitaries here and the guests who have come here and made this occasion a really good success. Thank you. Now, Dr. Simoni and this ball for a while, and then we'll finalize the result and we'll come back.
You have to sit or you will go?
Yeah, you try.
If you would like to wait for the result,
Yes.
You stay here, inshallah, and we'll go out.
Yes, 10 minutes, we'll wait for you.
Yahya is an asset to the
We are listening to two things, my innovation and the history of our institute. Inshallah, we will take a chance of the discussion.
Full-time
Also, as associate professor in
Thank you.